And as usual, I'll put it up on the website so you can watch that later. And don't forget to take the quiz. The quiz is open now, so you can take that anytime you want. Right then, let me just go into, dare I do this? Yes, I will. I'll try. Now let's go into screen share. Let's get rid of that. Don't want that. Maybe leave that open. Okay, here's today's quiz. Nobody's done that yet, of course. Here's last week's quiz. Let's just check that out. Okay, right. It's just worth mentioning merge and recursion. And the magic word was recursion last week. It's 25 points for the magic word. So pay attention to the magic word. That is quite important. Okay. Let me just have a look at this. Yeah, we had 82 people. As you can see, yeah, you got to get the magic word. It's a bit of, yeah, if you didn't get the magic word right, I would suggest you do it again, right? Because that's quite a lot of points for that. Okay, and then, yes, he used it as a pen. That was the whole point there. And so that was kind of about grammar, right? So even though, say if you merge, so let's say, for example, a verb and a noun phrase, it's still a verb phrase, right? Anyway, you get the idea. Combining things. Check out the hint, right? So electrons, yes. Needs, yeah. Hydrogen atom needs, yeah. This is a bit sort of unfair, maybe. It actually does need two, right? It needs two altogether. So maybe I'll change that to allow two, because it does need two actually, but it needs one more, right? It needs one more. So that's its valency actually. But you know, I'm not going to worry too much about that. That's fine. If you said two, that's kind of the right answer. It needs two electrons in its outer shell, but it needs one extra one, right? So it needs one more, yes. Atom is good. Okay. Molecule, yes. It's kind of, you know, worth knowing. I have no idea. All right. Well, it's on the video. Check out the video if you haven't seen it. Valency. Yeah, what's the spelling of valency? Right. And so combining power is valency. Is also known as a subcategorization, subcat. As things they need to combine with, yes. Have to combine with, yeah, that's also all right. Yeah. Merge to combine, I don't think so. Needs is yeah, not really, yeah. Needs to combine with a noun phrase, yes. Be careful with that. The verb such as hit needs to combine with two noun phrases, yes, a subject and an object. Yeah. So either the written or the number is okay. All right. Verb like walk needs one noun phrase. It's a subject. Yes, that's it. You should be able to work that out. I don't know what that is. A verb such as hit requires two noun phrases, a subject and an object. Yes. Another word for object is, well, you know that. I'll come to that later. A verb like donate. Compliment, do you remember? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll do it later. A verb like donate has a valency of three, a subject and two objects. Grammar, okay? Two objects. An expression such as a pen is a noun phrase, yes. Now, yeah, determiner phrase, I allow determiner phrase, right? Because some people say it's a determiner phrase, some people say it's a specifier phrase and things like that. Yeah, so that's okay. These are both okay. I would say it's a noun phrase, honestly. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Can be determiner phrase. Be careful spelling. Be careful spelling. Okay. And the word the in the expression the pen is known as a determiner or a specifier. Okay, determiner. Okay, most people getting that right. The pen is a noun phrase, but some people think it is a specifier or determiner phrase. Yeah. So I would say it's a noun phrase. Obviously, the pen is a noun phrase, but some people think it's a specifier phrase or a determiner phrase. Article phrase, no. I mean, not really, right? Because I know what you mean, right? Article. I mean, an article is a kind of specifier or a kind of determiner. Okay. Now, yeah, I would say be careful using article. Right? Is an article, right? It's the indefinite article. The is the definite article. But an article is really one kind of determiner, right? It's a kind of specifier, right? Most is a specifier, yeah? For is a specifier, yeah? Every is a specifier. Those are not really articles, right? Those are kind of quantifiers and things like that. But they're kinds of determiners. So say determiner or specifier is probably the best way to do that. Yeah, I would avoid saying article in this case because article is just one kind of determiner, one kind of specifier. Yeah, kick the ball is a verb phrase. Yes, I think most people got that. It's not really a determiner phrase, is it? Yeah. So verb phrase, he kicked the ball is a sentence. Yes. And I said a sentence is a verb phrase. Now, people struggle with this one, right? People panic when I say this. Yeah, we can think of a sentence as a verb phrase with an empty valency list. In other words, it's a verb phrase with a subject, right? Sentence is a verb phrase with a subject. People panic when I say that. I'm not sure exactly why, but that's what it is. I mean, a sentence is really a verb phrase, yeah, with a subject. It's an empty valency list. So verb is the correct answer. Not a noun phrase, right? A sentence isn't a noun phrase. It's a verb phrase with a subject. In linguistics, valency is also known as, okay, now this is it, subcategorization. Watch the spelling. Okay, watch the spelling. Subcategorization. The word big, is an adjective. Everybody got it right. Well done. The expression big ball is a noun phrase. Yes. It's like a big ball is an adjective. I don't think so, right? I mean, in a way, I kind of like that answer because, like, you're thinking, it's got to be one or the other. It is one or the other. But I think big ball is a noun phrase. Right? Most people would say that. So I'm going to stick with that, right? It's a noun phrase. What's the spelling? The word three in three books is a specifier or a determiner. Okay. Now, again, it's not really an article. It's not a definite article or an indefinite article, but it's still a specifier, right? So instead of saying article, yeah, you can say article in the case of a or the, right? But rather than saying that, say specifier or determiner. Specifier or determiner is probably better. Okay. The word three is not really is a number or determiner. Yeah, well, it's a kind of specifier that gives the number, right? Not a determiner or determiner. Right? Can't say that. The expression pushed it is a verb phrase. Yes, well done. Most people got that. The expression we saw John is a sentence. It's a sentence. We saw John. Sentence. Come on, guys. Got to get this, right? Should be able to do this, right? It's quite easy, right? You might want, if you've got these wrong, you might want to do these again. The expression we saw John is a sentence. We saw John as a sentence, right? Yeah, be careful with that. Or a verb phrase with a subject. Okay, so a sentence is a verb phrase with a subject. Right? I'm going to keep saying that. For some reason, people go crazy when I say it, but it's true, right? A verb phrase with a subject, that's a sentence. The word slowly in the expression slowly walked away is an adverb, yes. Okay, be careful, please. So slowly fits with, it merges with a verb phrase. Yeah, verb, sorry, people coming in. Slowly merges with a verb phrase. Adverbs merge with verb phrases, okay? So that's adverb, not adjective. Slow is an adjective. Okay, be careful. You've got to get these right. The word tiny in tiny insect is an adjective. Yes, not an adverb. Okay, so tiny insect. Insect is a noun. Tiny fits together with a noun. It's an adjective. And it makes a noun phrase with a noun. So tiny insect is a noun phrase. Tiny is an adjective. Okay, it's quite important. This is really basic stuff, right? You have to know this. Many of you are going to be teachers. You've got to know this, even in English, right? The word quickly in quickly drop the ball is an adverb, yes. So be careful. Maybe the same people getting this wrong. What's the spelling? Atom. It's not a bad answer. I mean, they're all atoms, right, in a way, but not really. Yeah, this is language, linguistics. So we use these linguistic words. The word those in those books is a determiner, yes. Specifier, yes. Okay. Nobody said article. Okay. So don't say article, it's best. Say determiner or specifier. Pronoun. Stay away from that. What about this? The word thoroughly in thoroughly washed my hands is an adverb, yes. So it looks like the same people are getting these wrong all the time. Yeah, be careful. Thoroughly washed my hands. Washed my hands is a verb phrase. An adverb merges with a verb phrase. Thoroughly washed my hands. It's an adverb. The definite article, okay, now the definite article, that, right? Now, that is a kind of, it's a definite article, right? But it's a kind of determiner or specifier. No. It's a kind of article. Well, I guess it's a kind of article, but yeah, that's not really the point, is it? Yeah. A definite article is a kind of article. Well, yeah, I suppose. No. The indefinite article, is also a determiner or a specifier. Okay? The word give has a subject and two objects. Okay? And then you've got another word for object is, I just gave you this before, it's complimentizer. That's wrong. I made a mistake. Sorry, it should be complement. I'll change that. Sorry. Yeah, I'll change that. I made a mistake. That here it should be complement. Object is complement. I made a mistake. I'll check that later then. All right, that's my mistake. Complement is a better answer actually. Yeah, but I can't blame you because I gave the hint. The hint is wrong, basically. Yeah. Anyway, never mind. That's the last question. So I'll make a note of that. It's not your fault, obviously. I'll change this so you get the points, right? But it's my last question. I made a mistake on it. Sorry about that. Let me just come out for a second. Now, shall I write it here? I bet this causes me problems now. But yeah, it should be complement, right? Complimentizer is different, actually. Yeah. So I'll change that. So don't worry, you'll get the points, okay? But complement is a better answer. So object is a complement. An object is a complement. Okay, sorry, that was my mistake. Okay, but anyway, I can fix it. Don't worry about it. All right, let me just come out of there then. So I think we're okay. Sorry about that last question. That was my mistake. But as I say, I can fix it. You don't have to worry about it. Okay then. So I think that's all right. And we're going to go on to today's. stuff. Okay. Apologies once again for that last question. Occasionally it happens. Yeah, complimentizer is a different thing. Yeah. But an object is good to mention. An object is a complement. Another word for object is a complement. So a verb like give has one subject. Sorry, a sentence. Yeah, a verb like give takes one subject and two objects, two complements. That's the idea. Okay, then, right then. Big apologies for messing that up. That's just careless miss. Sorry. But a complimentizer is a different thing. Okay, then. Do I need that anymore? Maybe I don't. Let me just go here. That's merge and recursion. Recursion is the correct, or is the magic word. And phrase structure rules is today. This is today's thing. And the magic word today is innateness. 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 Okay, let me just, wonder if I can put in the preview. Say the magic word is, okay, innateness. I'll leave that there for a while. Okay, 25 points for that, right? A nice, easy 25 points. Makes up for my mistake with complimentizer. Okay, then. Sorry about the mistake. But that's right. Innateness. Okay, innateness is the correct answer. Okay, then. Let me go out. And so look at this. Do we have any people doing the... Yeah, okay, good. So we've got some people doing the Shiseki thing. No problem. All right, then. I'm going to... Shall I leave that there? I'll leave it there. Right, and let me get on start today then. Maybe I should just have a quick check that everybody's all right. Everybody's okay? Give me a sign. Give me a sign. No problems? Yeah, you're okay? Okay, good. We're all right. Yeah. All right then, going back in. And today we're going to be looking at phrase structure rules. And if you look at this, you can see that this has a kind of history, right? We're looking at kind of the early history of modern English linguistics. We've mentioned Noam Chomsky, right? Chomsky's a big name. He's the biggest name, actually, in linguistics and maybe in modern academia. Very famous person, and he's dominated English linguistics. And when you look at phrase structure rules, these are kind of just rules for explaining language. And they became very, very important around this time. We're looking back to about 1957 to 65, something like 60 years ago, shall we say, 55 to 60 years ago. These rules, for various reasons, became very important. So this is kind of a history lesson in a way. Oop. Okay, then. Now, the first thing we want you to think about is this thing, as I say, innateness. Oops. I don't know why it does that. Innateness is the magic word. There's the magic word. Use a small I if you want. And the innateness hypothesis. Now, the innateness hypothesis really kind of started around this time. It was kind of proposed around this time. So you can see what innateness means, and you can see what a hypothesis is. Right? Now, as you say, it's a hypothesis. It's really just an idea, right? It's really, it's not. We don't know if it's true. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not true, right? We don't know. It's just an idea. Right, so the innateness hypothesis it's a very important idea. It became very important Maybe too important because people believed it and thought it was, scientific truth. But it's really just an idea, right? A hypothesis is really just an idea. Shouldn't forget that. It's kind of important. So it was we proposed it because we were thinking about, how children learn languages so quickly. If you think of children, they kind of pick up their first language without studying it very hard. They don't really study it very much when they're little. They just kind of pick it up very, very quickly. And we think, well, how do they do that? And if you live in a foreign country for a few years and you're struggling to learn the language, or you study English for many years, and then you see a child from an English-speaking country who just picks up English without any effort, you think, well, how do they do that? It is kind of a mystery. And one way of saying, explaining how they learn language very, very quickly would be to say, well, they learn it by practicing a lot. So, for example, by the time children are about 6 years old, they practice for about 10,000 hours. So, maybe that's the reason. They just practice a lot. But with the innateness hypothesis, that wasn't the solution proposed. Because people thought, well, when you learn a language, there's just too much information to pick up, right? It's incredibly complex. Think of all the information you get when you learn a language. You can't just do it by practicing a lot, surely. Well, that's the question. Isn't there too much information when you learn a language? It's so much to remember, right? How do they pick it up so quickly? And why does it get more difficult after a certain time? Right? So in other words, if you live in an English-speaking country, when you're a little kid, about 3 or 4, you pick up the language very easily, very quickly. But if you go to that country when you're about 18 or 19, maybe then it's going to be kind of more difficult. So anyway, innate, right? So the idea is that if some ability is innate, we are born with that ability, right? So you have some ability that you're born with. Now, obviously, we have the ability to learn language, right? But that's not really the point, right? Think about what kind of information is innate. Now, you can say humans are definitely better at human language than animals, right? It's like you say, okay, we learn human language better than gorillas. Yeah, we know that, right? That's not a question, right? Many people misunderstand the innateness hypothesis. And they think the innateness hypothesis just means we're better at language than animals, right? I can speak English better than my cat, that sort of thing. That's not it, right? That's not what it is. That's not what it means. We'll see what it is really later. So it's true, humans are better as human language than animals. There's no question about that. Nobody disagrees with that, right? But that's not what the innateness hypothesis is about, right? That's not what it is. It's not we are better than animals as human communication. That's not what it is, right? That's not what it means. And many people will say, yes, of course, we have innate language ability. We are better at language, human language, than animals. But that's not what it means, right? That's not what the innateness hypothesis is. So be careful with that. It's true that dogs are better at dog communication than humans, for example, right? And if you try to communicate with other dogs, well, a dog will do it better, right? So that doesn't really prove anything. Your cat is better at cat communication than you are. That doesn't really prove very much. bees are better at bee communication than humans. Right? So that's not what it is. That's not what the innateness hypothesis means. This is a bee going on, I'm a bee, I'm a bee, I'm a bee, right? Now, this doesn't speak Japanese or English, obviously. It's a bee, right? But it's excellent at bee communication, right? I mean, it's better at bee communication than we are. So that's not what the innateness hypothesis means. It doesn't mean we're just better at language. So the innateness hypothesis isn't we are good at human language. That's not it, right? That's not what it means. So be careful, because people say, "Oh, the innateness hypothesis. Yes, of course, we are better at language than animals." That's not what it is, right? Nobody denies that, right? Nobody's saying that's not true. Everybody accepts that. So what is the innateness hypothesis, right? What really is it? That's the question. And it's important to think about this, because this is really the only big idea in linguistics. And if you look at the history of linguistics, there's nothing else really. That's it. Right? This one idea. Okay, here's the innateness hypothesis. Basically, we are born with rules of language already in our brains. Right? Check this out. Rules of language. You think, wow, rules of language. What's that about? Yeah, we're born with certain rules of language already in our brains. Yeah, so some rules are already in our brains. Somebody coming in. Already in our brains when we're born. Yeah, it's innate. Some rules of language are innate. That's what it means, right? It doesn't mean we're better at language than animals. It means some rules, some language rules are built into our brains when we're born. Some rules are, yeah? And you're thinking, rules? What kind of rules? Good question. What kind of rules? We'll think about that. Oop. Okay, so here's a newborn baby, right? Just born. I don't know, probably. Yeah, not very long ago anyway. Yeah. So it's a newborn baby, just born. Already knows rules of language. Some rules of language is already in this baby's head, in his brain. Yeah, that's what it means. And you're thinking, what kind of rules of language does this baby have in his head? What kind of rules? Good question. What kind of rules? Right? That is really the whole of linguistics, the whole of modern linguistics. I've just given it to you, right? It's easy. It's a very, very simple thing, right? But be careful what it means. Right? The innateness hypothesis is that some rules of language rules, are already built into the baby's brain, like a hard drive in a computer or something. You're thinking, this baby already knows rules of language. What kind of rules? Good question. That's what it's about. Okay. So the innateness hypothesis is really kind of like this kind of thing, right? All children with all levels of knowledge can acquire language. Okay, so we know that, right? All children can acquire language. They can do it effortlessly without any effort. Very easy. They do it in a very short time, even though language is very complex, and they don't have to be formally taught, right? We don't, parents don't really teach children. They just talk to them, right? So it's like, to do that, to manage to explain all of this, we'd say, well, we have certain rules built into our brain. So be careful. What does the innateness hypothesis claim? We are innately better at learning languages than animals. Nobody disagrees with that. Nobody says that's not true. We know that, right? We know we are innately better at learning human language than animals, right? Nobody disagrees with that. But animals are innately better at learning their animal language than we are. So that doesn't really prove anything. Nobody disagrees with that. That's not, right? That's not the innateness hypothesis. It's not the innateness hypothesis, right? We are innately better at learning languages than animals is not the innateness hypothesis. Many people will talk as if it is, but it isn't. Okay? We are innately superior to animals at languages. Nobody disagrees with that. Nobody's ever disagreed with it. Right? We know that, right? We know we're better at learning human languages than animals, right? Everybody accepts that. Never in history has anybody ever disagreed with that. Everybody knows that's true, right? But it's not the innateness hypothesis. The innateness hypothesis is that we have certain rules, language rules built into our brain, language rules built into our brain when we're born. That's the innateness hypothesis. And that's what people disagree with. Some people say, yeah, that's crazy. So anyways, that's the question. What do you think? You can believe anything you want. I don't mind what you believe, right? But that's the clear what the innateness hypothesis is. It means we're born with certain rules in our head, right? And you have to think, well, what kind of rules would those be? Okay. So what is the innateness hypothesis? Human language ability is separate from other thinking ability. So these rules, we're born with these rules, right? But they're language rules, right? They're not ordinary thinking rules, right? They're not just ordinary stuff. This is special, unique to language. And these language rules are separate. They're separate from other thinking. Yeah? And it's not just based in ordinary thinking. Yeah? So these language rules are separate from ordinary thought. That's the innateness hypothesis. And human language ability is special purpose, not like, what I've missed there. Special purpose, not like ordinary thinking. Sorry, I made a mistake here. Right? It's not like it's separate from other mental abilities. I feel as if I should write something there now. I bet this messes me up. Okay, let's try it. So not like, ordinary thinking. Yeah. Special purpose, not ordinary thinking. Yeah. Ooh, and I've lost I knew I would. I've lost my thing. Okay, get my mouse back. Okay, good. Okay, let's get rid of that. Okay, sorry about that. For some reason I messed it up. Separate from other mental abilities. It works independently from other mental abilities. So it's not ordinary thinking, and it's separate, right? Separate from ordinary thinking. So it's special purpose. It's not like ordinary thinking. Yeah. So that's kind of important, right? It's not just that we're better at human language than animals. That's not the point, right? It's that we're born with special rules in our brain, special language rules, and these special language rules are not just ordinary thinking, right? Because then it's not, special, right? It's not just language, right? These are separate from ordinary thinking, and they're independent, right? They work totally separately from other mental abilities. Okay, so the skills involved in language ability are unique to language. They're unique to language. Okay, sorry about this mistake here. I forgot to write it in. So what kind of rules are we born with? Now, these would have to be kind of grammar rules, according to Chomsky. Rules of grammar. Yeah. So rules of grammar are built into our brains when we're born. This was the innateness hypothesis. Rules of grammar built into our brains. So newborn baby has rules of grammar already built into its brain when it's born. You're thinking, rules of grammar, eh? What? What do you mean? Yes, what do we mean? Rules of syntax, rules of grammar, rules, same thing, all right? So these special rules are rules of grammar, the rules of syntax. And you're thinking, what kind of rules? Good question. For example, yeah, what kind of rules? Yeah, what kind of rules? Think about it. That's a very good question. Right? So, I mean, it's easy to say, oh yeah, we are born with special language rules built into our brain. Yeah, okay, no problem. But for example, what kind of rules are you talking about? And why should language be separate, right? Why should grammar, right? Why should these grammar rules be separate from ordinary thinking? That's a bit strange. Yeah. Why is language regarded as separate here? And why should syntax be separate from meaning? Yeah. Why would grammar be separate from meaning? Think about that. The simple answer to that is because just linguists liked the idea. They just liked the idea that syntax is separate from meaning and syntax is separate from everything. You can just study syntax and, you don't have to worry about anything else. You can say, oh yeah, if I study syntax, I can tell you something about the human brain. So linguists just like the idea that syntax, grammar is separate from meaning. And there's no actual evidence to believe it. In fact, people will talk as if there is, but in fact there isn't. Okay, anyway, let's move it on. Anyway, the innateness hypothesis became very popular because linguists liked the idea, right? So we will study rules of grammar, and this will tell us about the brain. Yeah. So they liked the idea, and Chomsky started looking for evidence of how our unique language ability works. So Chomsky was leading this, looking for these special rules, these special grammar rules of syntax that we are born with. Right? This is this big project. And so basically the idea was we're all born with these rules, right? So if you're Japanese, you're born with these rules. If you're becoming an English speaker, you're born with these rules. Wherever you're born, right? Doesn't matter where you're born, which country, anywhere in the world, everybody has these rules, these language rules, these grammar rules, syntactic rules built into their brain. So it's like, in a way, it's like saying, well, really all languages are the same deep down. Yeah. Deep down, all languages are the same. And maybe you're thinking, all languages are the same? You mean English and Japanese are all basically the same? Yes, that's the idea, right? That was the hypothesis, right? Now you've got to say, do you believe that? It's up to you. Believe whatever you want. Anyway, we're looking for these rules, and we're looking for evidence that the world's languages are all basically the same. And this is the universal grammar idea, right? That there are certain rules. We are all born with these rules, everybody, and they're all the same. They're the same for everybody. They're universal. Everybody has these rules. That's universal grammar. The set of rules that we are born with. Think of that baby. Baby comes into the world, language rules built into its brain, like a computer hard drive or something. That's universal grammar, if you believe it. So the question then is universal grammar. What kind of rules would be universal grammar? What kind of rules? Good question. Anyway, there's universal grammar. Okay, then. So universal grammar is the language rules we're born with. That's the idea. It's the hypothesis, right? That's the hypothesis, right? Do you believe it? I don't know. You can if you want. It's up to you, right? But that's the idea of universal grammar. That's what it is. The language rules we are born with. It's not, we're better than animals as human language. That's not it. It's that we're born with some rules. We come into the world. They're built into our brains, already built into our brains. These are grammar rules, and everybody has these rules. That's the hypothesis. the universal grammar hypothesis. So what would that be, for example? Right? What kind of thing would that be? And then you're thinking, what? What kind of rules would those be? If you're saying all the world's languages are basically the same. Think about it. Deep, 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 deep down, they're the same. Yeah, so, Japanese and English, obviously not the same, but deep down, they are. Maybe. So why should we believe that? Well, basically because linguists wanted to believe it. Right? There's not really much evidence to show that's true. But linguists wanted to believe that if you study one language, you can understand all languages. That's nice, right? If I study English linguistics, I can study all linguistics just by studying English linguistics. That's a nice idea. Is it true? That's a different matter. There's no actual evidence for it. So it's a hypothesis, but there's not very much evidence to support it, actually. It's a hypothesis. Okay, so all the world's languages are the same. That's the basic idea. Even though they look really different, English and Japanese look very different, but deep down, they're the same. For example, there's different word order in Japanese. English has subject, verb, object. Japanese has subject, object, verb, right? So they look different, have different word order, or maybe some languages that don't have a word order. Yeah? Or maybe some languages have very long words instead of sentences. Seems that some languages like this, some very strange languages. But still, we have to believe they're all basically the same. That's the universal grammar innateness hypothesis. All languages are basically the same. Do you believe that? It's up to you. Believe wherever you want. I don't mind. But think about it. Just think about it. Are all languages basically the same? If you think they are, then you can say, well, can we just study one language, English, for example, and then you understand all of them. If you study English, then you can understand Japanese, basically. Right? The other stuff is not really important. And this is 1957. This was a book called Syntactic Structures. And as you can see, this is a book by Noam Chomsky, Syntactic Structures. You're thinking, okay, this is the idea here now. These language rules are very, very important. And we're born with these language rules. We're trying to figure out which rules we're born with. So we kind of look at these kind of things. Let's put that over there. Right? Phrase structure rules. So Chomsky was doing stuff like this. As you can see, you get these branches, two branches, two branches, two branches, two branches. And pretty much everything was done with these two branches. And you will do this in two branches, right? Everything's going to be two branches. So keep it simple. And this is actually Chomsky's most famous sentence. And you should know this. Colorless green ideas sleep furiously. Yeah. So sleep is a verb. A possible verb phrase would be an adverb and a verb. Sleep furiously is a verb phrase. A noun phrase. A possible noun phrase would be an adjective and a noun. That's a noun phrase. Yeah. And a possible noun phrase would be a noun phrase and an adjective. That's a noun phrase. And then a sentence. Yeah. A possible sentence would be a subject noun phrase and a verb phrase. Yeah. That kind of rule. Are we born with those kind of rules? Sentence. Notice, sentence is a verb phrase with a subject. Okay. Oops. Right. This is Chomsky's most famous sentence, colorless green ideas sleep furiously. Yeah, that's Chomsky's most famous sentence. Check that out very carefully, please. Think what it means. Colorless green ideas sleep furiously. The thing about this sentence is it doesn't mean anything, really. Or at least that's it, it's meaningless, right? It's like colorless green ideas. That's nonsense, right? Like an idea can't be green, and a green thing cannot be colorless. So it's meaningless. And then sleep furiously is meaningless. People coming in. Sleep furiously. How can you can't sleep furiously? So colorless green ideas sleep furiously is ridiculous. It's nonsense. But it's still grammatically perfectly okay. It's a verb phrase with a subject. Grammatically, no problem. It's a verb with an adverb. Grammatically, no problem. It's an adjective with a noun. Grammatically, no problem. An adjective with a noun phrase. Grammatically, no problem. So grammatically, it's fine. But in terms of meaning, it's meaningless. So then Chomsky said, well, meaning and grammar are separate. Do you believe that? Think about it. Okay. So this is basically what he says is that this proves, because this sentence is meaningless, even though the grammar is okay, it proves that syntax and semantics are separate. Does it really? Think about it. I don't know. It's up to you. You can believe anything you want. Anyway, these phrase structure rules weren't new, right? The idea that a noun phrase is a specifier or determined with a noun, a verb phrase is a verb with a noun phrase, a sentence is a subject noun phrase with a verb phrase. That's not new. There's nothing new about that. I mentioned panini, right? It's basically the same thing, right? Same kind of rules. And these rules have been developing for ages and ages and ages, thousands of years, basically. So nothing new about this. But now we're taking them really seriously. Yeah. We're thinking, some of these rules, language rules, are built into our brain when we're born. If we study linguistics, it's going to teach us something about our brain. Right? So now people are taking it really seriously because they're thinking, study language, right? Just study language and you can learn about your brain. Oh, exciting. All right. Now, the question is, can you? I mean, is it true? I mean, I don't know, but people wanted to believe it. And they were working with these tree diagrams. These look like trees, upside down trees, basically. Yeah. And they were looking at these tree diagrams and working very seriously at them, trying to discover something about the brain. And as you can see, basically, most of the time you've got these kind of double branches. Sometimes there's no branch, right? Just one branch, basically, either two branches or one branch. Don't worry about these too much. Yeah. But anyway, in 1957, it was still pretty simple. Whoop, what's happened there? Yeah, still pretty simple in 1957. Sentence is a subject with a verb phrase, that sort of thing, right? Nothing very complicated and nothing new, really. Right? Nothing new, just the idea that if we study language rules, we learn about our brain, universal grammar, the innateness hypothesis. And Chomsky was doing things like this, right? Here you've got a slightly different thing, like 3 branches, right? But usually they stop doing this after a while. Yeah, so don't worry too much about this. We'll try and work with 2 branches as much as possible, right? There's a 3-branch thing here. Around this time, 1957, there was occasionally they were using 3 branches. The auxiliary will, right, like that. But mostly it was just 2s, right? So a sentence could be a noun phrase and a verb phrase. NP and VP. Yeah. A verb phrase could be a verb and an NP. Right? A verb and NP would be a verb phrase. A verb could be an auxiliary word like will or can or may, and a verb, right? So you probably get two branches actually, right? Okay. And so, for example, a sentence would be explained like this: the rule for a sentence. These are rules, right? And nobody's thinking they're built into the brain at this stage, right? These are just the rules maybe we learn. So a sentence is a noun phrase and a verb phrase. For example, same thing here. Sentence is a noun phrase and a verb phrase. Two branches. We'll work with two branches all the time. Oops. Colorless green ideas, sleep furiously. Sentence is a noun phrase and a verb phrase. Same thing. John hit the ball. Sentence is a noun phrase and a verb phrase. And a verb phrase is a verb plus NP. This is a bit confusing here. They're using three branches, but we won't do that. Right, we'll do two branches only. Okay, so the verb phrase, for example, is a verb plus NP, noun phrase. That's a verb phrase. Two branches. A verb phrase may be a verb, right? So verb phrase may be just a verb, right? Or it may be a verb plus adverb, sorry. Yeah, so verb plus adverb is a verb phrase. Or a verb phrase may be a verb plus an adverb phrase, maybe. Maybe this is an adverb phrase. Yeah, don't worry too much about that. So anyway, in this case, you've got three branches, but we won't do that, right? We give up three branches. We have two branches. This makes it easier, simpler to think about. So a noun phrase could be a determiner and a noun. Yeah. So these are all really simple. You kind of already know these things. You practice this. We'll make sure you can do this, right? And we're going to work with two branches all the time. Yeah, just two branches. Everything's going to be two branches. Maybe one branch. So noun phrase, determiner plus noun. There you go. Determiner plus noun. No problem with that. Now, how can we make these rules the same for all languages? You want to say these are universal. All languages are basically the same. How do you make these rules all the same for all languages? That's kind of a difficult thing. And what they did is, and I'll just do this very, very briefly and I'll stop, right? Basically here you can see that the verb phrase is just one verb, just one branch. But here you've got an auxiliary, right? So verb and maybe an aux plus V, right? Now don't have to remember this, right? This is just history. Yeah. And the aux here gives you a funny tense bit here, right? And then you've got the verb walk in this case, right? And then if you look at this, the tall girl, they got three branches here, right? We won't do that, right? This is old stuff. We're not going to do this, right? We'll do two branches. Tall girl, two branches. The tall girl, two branches, right? So we won't do this, right? This is a history lesson, right? This is how they did it at the time in 1957, right? So we don't do this now. Everything's going to be two branches. But they had this thing here, look at the tense, right? The auxiliary. And you've got walked, right? But the ud, right? The ud, the past tense, is before the verb, right? The tall girl ud walk, right? And you're thinking, what? Why? Why would you do that? It's walked. It's not ud walk. That's stupid, right? And you think, well, why would they do that? So this is back in 1950s, late 1950s, and they're playing with this, and they think, oh, I have this here. And you think, why would you do that? Well, they're doing it because they want to make all languages the same. And they're thinking, how do we make all languages the same? Excuse me. How do we make all languages the same? Well, okay, think about it. You got the verb is aux plus V, right? Now, you don't have to remember this, right? Don't worry about it. But you could say this is one of the rules they had. The verb is aux plus V, like that. And then this aux bit comes before the verb. Why? Why would you do that? Right? Why would you say "'ud walk" rather than "walked"? Yeah. Why would you do that? It's kind of stupid. Why? What's the point? Right? Well, I'll explain to you. Think about it. Why would you do this? You want all languages to be the same. Right? You want all of the world's languages to be the same. So why would you put these things in these funny positions? Why would you do that? Why is aux tense before the verb? Right? Why would you do that? The tall girl walked, right? So why would you say the tall girl ed walk? It's ridiculous. Well, think about it. I mean, it's not walk, it's walked. It's not ed walk, right? Clearly. So why are they doing it? Well, look at this, right? In this sentence, you would say she did walk, right? She did walk. That's okay, right? That's a normal sentence. She did walk. Now, aux seems to come before the verb, the auxiliary verb, right? Comes before the verb. So it seems like maybe there's some funny invisible movement. Invisible movement. Things move invisibly. Ooh, right? And maybe if we move everything around, if they have invisible movement, then maybe everything is the same. Maybe all the world's languages are the same. So funny invisible movement. So for example, he didn't go, right? The aux is there, right? The aux is there before the verb. Maybe it's not crazy. I don't know, maybe it is crazy. But anyway, the idea was that if we move things, invisible movement, if we have invisible movement, so the invisible movement here, yeah, if you have this invisible movement, maybe we can say that everything deep down is the same. It's possible. So we're starting to see funny invisible movement everywhere, all over the place, in fact. And keeping the same structure. So you get the same structure. Yeah? See the same structure there? Right? Aux before the verb, even where it seems that it's after the verb. Yeah, so you have this funny invisible movement. And that's the idea with universal grammar. If we allow, right? If we allow funny invisible movement, then maybe everything is the same. Do you believe that? Think about it. So for example, you've got something like this, right? Walked has a valency of 1, right? A noun phrase. Yeah, that's its valency. And it needs a subject. Maybe I should move this over here. Okay, needs a subject. And, oops. I don't think that's a very good place for that. Let's move this up here. That's no good. Sorry. Oh, is that going to be good? I don't think that's not good either. Anyway, let's try this. So the walked has a valency, needs a subject. So let's give it a subject. But before that, we're going to give it an auxiliary verb, this extra bit. And this comes before the verb, right? So that's the auxiliary, the tense bit. You can say tense or auxiliary, it doesn't make any difference really. It's the same thing, right? Auxiliary tense, whatever we call it, but it comes before the verb, right? And then what happens is you can move something there to this position, right? What's the point? Well, don't worry about that, right? Our goal is to show that all languages are basically the same, right? So what do? We take the ed bit, right? And we have invisible movement, right? Invisible movements are there. So it's moved in that case. What's the point? Well, don't worry about that. And let's have it up here. Okay, hopefully this will work. Let's have VP up here, for example. Why? Doesn't matter about that. It's just our rule, right? And then we have the noun phrase over there, and she is there. Okay, now the valency is empty because it's got a subject. And we've got this invisible movement, right? Invisible movement of things. to funny places. And you're thinking, why do you have invisible movement? Well, because if you have invisible movement, maybe you can show that everything is the same deep down, right? She did walk, she may walk, she will walk, she should walk, she whatever walk, right? And she walked. Deep down, the structure is the same. It's the same basic rule. And then you can say, well, maybe all languages are deep down the same. You just got funny invisible movement. Invisible movement. If you allow invisible movement, then you can say, maybe all languages are the same deep down. Okay, I'm going to stop that there, actually, guys. And I'm going to just come out of here. I'll carry on next week. And let's have a look. Here we go. Here's today's quiz. Let's just have a quick look at that. Okay, I want to give you some time to do this, right? And most of this is quite easy, actually, guys, right? The magic word is innateness, right? Don't forget, innateness. And it's given here as well to make it very, very easy, right? As long as you're in class, you know this, right? Okay, so that's, and you get lots of points for that, right? Innateness, hypothesis, and so on. If you have innate ability, you are born with it, right? Humans are certainly better than animals at human language, yeah? But a bee is better at bee communication than humans, okay? These are really easy things, right? The innateness hypothesis suggests that language is separate or different, right? Separate or different from other mental abilities, okay? And I'm going to leave that there. Skills involved in language ability are unique to language, okay? And they were born with syntactic rules hardwired in our brains. If all humans are born with these syntactic rules, then these rules are, you should be able to work this out, yeah? Is also a hypothesis, okay? They're all the same deep down. Deep structures and so on. I think these are all right. If we're born with some grammatical rules in our head, we can understand the something by studying grammatical rules. If we're born with grammatical rules in our head, then we can understand the something by studying grammatical rules. What's that? We can understand the brain by studying grammatical rules. Okay? And then Chomsky's most famous sentence is, I'm not going to tell you, yeah? But he's actually claiming the syntax and semantics or meaning are separate. Okay, then. So these are really big ideas in linguistics. I'm going to leave you with that. Verb plus a noun phrase. And then you've got these, right? Be careful with this. NP is det plus, just make this N or N, doesn't make any difference, right? The S is noun phrase. I made a mistake. I'll change this actually. It should be a plus here, right? It should be VP. Yeah? VP. I'll change this. It should be a plus. Okay, it should be a plus like that. Okay, so I made a mistake, sorry. So VP is V plus noun phrase, that kind of thing. Okay, and a verb is auxiliary plus V. I think I'll allow verb as well, actually. V will do. Aux is short for auxiliary. Auxiliary. An example of an auxiliary is, let's say, may or should, yeah, that sort of thing. Did, that kind of stuff. The noun phrase nice dogs is made up of an and a noun. I'm going to leave you with that. The verb phrase sleep furiously is made up of a verb and an. I'm going to leave you with that. The verb lost his pants is made up of verb and a noun. Should be easy, right? And I'm going to leave you with that. And then you've got, if grammatical rules are universal, then they should somehow be the something for all languages. They should somehow be the same for all languages. Okay, and linguists try to make all grammatical rules look the same by allowing invisible. I'm going to leave it with you. And then number 38, for example, in the past tense verb walked, linguists suggested that the past tense part, ed, moves in of the verb, moves in. Think about it. Okay then, guys, so I'm not going to give you too much, but I obviously made a couple of mistakes there, so I'll change those, right? But basically, that's it. Okay, right then. So don't forget, the magic word is innateness. Innateness. If you get that right, you should have no problem. Okay, then, guys, right then. So that's that, actually. I think I'm going to stop there, give you a chance to do the quiz. So go in there, do the Shusek if you get a chance. Don't worry too much about it, but please do if it helps me a little bit. Okay, guys, so I'll let you go. So bye-bye, if you're okay. Yeah. See you next time. Do the quiz. I'll wait here for a little bit. Yeah, I'll wait around for a little bit in case people have any questions or comments. But otherwise, no problem. If you're happy, bye-bye. I'll be putting the video up online, so you'll be able to check it out there. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Okay, got 10 people left. Any questions? Any comments? Give you a minute or so. If you do have any questions, you can always go to the web class and post questions there. I guess we're all right. Okay, then. I think that's okay. Right. Okay, guys, I'm going to close this down. So see you next time. Bye-bye.